Okay, today we're going to take a look at River Raid, published by Activision and released for the Atari 2600 in 1982. River Raid also saw releases on the Commodore 64, IBM PC Junior, MSX, ZX Spectrum, and the other Atari 8-bit family of home computers. Now, River Raid is a forward-scrolling, top-down shooter and is generally considered the first in the line of shoot-'em-up games. You start off in River Raid with 3 lives, and you're a jet plane flying down the River of No Return. Now, your objective in this game is to blow up as many battleships, helicopters, bridges, and jet planes before either you run out of fuel or you crash into one of the enemy planes or the ground to the left and right of you. Now that's kind of one thing that I always found weird about this game. The enemies, they don't fire back at you, and I can understand getting hit by the jet planes and the helicopters, but the battleships and the grass doesn't make sense. They don't shoot at you, and since you're up in the air, why would you run into them? You're thousands of feet above the ground and above the battleship, so that really doesn't make sense, and I think was a big flaw in the game. Now, River Raid's also innovative for many more reasons. The controls for a 2600 game were really tight at the time. You could actually accelerate or deaccelerate, and that helped a lot, seeing as how the screen kept scrolling. And the left and right movements were pretty smooth, considering the time of this release. Although when you do move left or right, you build up speed as you go from one side to another. So if you're already holding left and you're trying to avoid a helicopter or a boat or a jet plane, you'll continue to go left for about a second or two after you release the controller, and that'll sometimes land you into some trouble where you'll hit a plane or the grass and blow up. Now, every 10,000 points, you'll get an extra life. Now also, you'll notice as you're going down the river, there's fuel tanks everywhere, and this is where River Raid puts in a risk-reward system. You can either blow up the fuel tanks or get them to actually refuel your plane, which you're going to need essentially throughout the game. As you get to later levels in the game, the fuel tanks become more and more scarce, so this makes the risk-reward system of getting a high score something you really have to evaluate if you think you can make it to the next part of the game without fueling. Another interesting thing that River Raid did that no other game had really done before was that it has checkpoints. Anytime that you blow up a bridge, if you die by either crashing into an enemy plane or the ground or a battleship, you'll start back off with your next life at that next bridge. And if you die 2 times in a row, it'll put you to the last bridge before that. So that was really innovative at the time, that it allowed for checkpoints in the game. River Raid, I think, is a really interesting game, although it can be rather frustrating because a lot of the helicopters and jet planes are really set up like traps, like where they have a little tiny corner where a jet plane's hiding at, and they don't move until you're almost right on top of them. So I don't think this game is difficult. It's more just it puts you in unfair situations, as did a lot of Atari 2600 games at the time. Also, I think it's interesting that there's not much backstory explained with the game. And with Atari 2600, this isn't uncommon, but I always kind of wondered, like, where is this set? Is this in the Middle East? Are you defending your home country? Because you see there's houses on either side of the river that you are raiding and flying down. So it'd be nice to know what's actually going on, if there's a war going on or something like that. River Raid would go on to be one of the Atari 2600's best-selling games of all time, selling over 1 million copies worldwide in 1983 and 1984. Later on, in 1995, it would be named an Activision Classic when it was re-released for the PlayStation 1. Overall, the importance of River Raid on the gaming industry cannot be overstated. When it was released by Activision, it totally changed the genre from mainly all space shooters like Yar's Revenge, Defender, or Asteroids, and gave games an entirely new different dimension to branch off into. I think it's a great, fun, first-person shooter that's still just as challenging today as it ever was. You can find it pretty cheaply nowadays, and I highly recommend that you check it out. Hey guys, if you liked the video that you just watched, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. And if you do the Facebook and Twitter thing, follow me at #KingOfRetro. See you next time.